everyone, MeltingMan234 here, and welcome to another episode of Forgotten Media, where I dig up some stuff you may or may not have heard of. Today we'll be looking at an old show that aired during the times when Cartoon Network was good, instead of what it is today. And that show was called Evil Con Carne, an American animated series created by Maxwell Adams, and premiered on Cartoon Network on July 11, 2003. Before we begin, I'll briefly talk about its origins from another show called Grim and Evil that premiered on Cartoon Network on August 24th, 2001. It had two segments from two shows made by Maxwell, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Evil Con Carne. It all started on the Cartoon Fridays Big Pick Weekend, a contest for a new show on the network, and the competitors were The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Whatever Happened to Robot Jones, and Long Hair and Double Dome, and Grim Adventures won the contest, and later they added an Evil Con Carne to the show, changing it to Grim and Evil. They even had a cool opening of Grim and Hector announcing the premiere of Grim and Evil. Sure brings back memories for me. Although Robot Jones would later get its own series, Long Hair and Double Dome tried again with another pilot episode, but failed and just vanished from existence. And so, Grim and Evil went well, going for 2 seasons and 13 episodes. Then in 2003, the network decided to let the two segments of the shows go their separate ways, after Grim and Evil was cancelled. While the Grim Adventures ran for 6 seasons and became a cult classic, Evil Con Carne only lasted for 13 episodes, as most of the episodes had 3 shorts in it, and a few episodes had 2. So after that lengthy history of its origins, let's move on to talking about Evil Con Carne. The story in the series is that an evil rich man named Hector Con Carne has been brutally killed in a giant explosion, and the only thing that survived was his brain and stomach. With the help of Major Dr. Ghastly, she gives Hector a new body by putting his brain and stomach on a former Russian circus bear named Boskov. With his new body, the aid of Dr. Ghastly, and his army led by General Scar living in the fortress known as Bunny Island, Hector Con Carne continues his plans on taking over the world. The show had some crazy characters. We have Hector Con Carne, once a billionaire villain, now reduced to a brain in a bell jar attached to the head of a big stupid bear. He can control its movements, but not all the time, and usually rants about how he's trying to take over the world, with this new body being unreliable. There's Boskov, who is the dim-witted bear, and has become Hector's new body. He's your typical fat, lazy bear eating honey, grunting all the time, and doesn't follow Hector's orders when he tells him to do something. Then there's Hector's stomach, who has somehow gotten a personality of its own after Hector's body was destroyed. He's more of a side gag and usually pops up at random talking about foods and other treats. There's Dr. Ghastly, who's the mad scientist, and enjoys building massive machines and devices to help Hector's army, known as Evil Con Carne. But she would rather spend more time with Hector instead of taking over the world. She has a crush on him ever since they first met when Hector was human. Leading the forces is General Scar, a cold-hearted man who is known for his scar and having one eye. Most of you might remember him as a recurring character in The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Well, this is where General Scar originally came from. He was always pushed around by Hector Con Carne, being brutally abused all the time, and was always plotting ideas to overthrow Hector and take full control of Evil Con Carne. It really reminds me of Snively Robotnik, and how he plans on overthrowing his uncle, Dr. Robotnik. There's Cod Commando, a walking fish who works for Spork, Secret Paramilitary Organized Response Command. He's the good guy who always gets in Hector's way, and was the one who destroyed his body, making them arch enemies. But I do find it odd, a walking fish who speaks in gibberish and can breathe normally out of the water. Heck, he can wield 3 guns at once. Maybe he's a mutant or something. And then there's Estroy, Hector's next-door neighbor and rival, who is also planning on taking over the world, and constantly tries to get Ghastly to join him by persuading her. The character is more of a parody off of Destro from the G.I. Joe series. We also have a few minor characters like Abraham Lincoln, who is somehow the president in this show, Enrique Jr., who is Hector's pet, and then there's Destructicus Con Carne, a man from the future who is more of a good guy, and it turns out that he is Hector and Ghastly's son in the future. And it turns out in that episode that he was introduced, Hector is still a brain in a bell jar attached to the head of a big stupid bear in the future. So did Ghastly become a furry to produce Destructicus? Nah, that's just plain weird. Yeesh. The show would have Hector try and take over the world with strange machines or devices that are either thwarted by COD Commando or something else happens. One episode has Scar accidentally being zapped by a de-evolution ray, which causes him to devolve from a human to a gorilla and so on. One episode has Hector use a stink ray to pollute the world with its awful smells. One episode has Hector control a TV show to get the kids respect, but that doesn't end very well. And another episode has Hector prepare the troops for an invasion, but he is unable to be there because Boskov is hibernating throughout all this. They even did a Christmas special where Hector decides to ruin Christmas by taking control of Santa Claus, and only Rupert the Green-Nosed Reindeer can stop him and save Christmas. One of my favorite episodes is The Pie Who Loved Me, where they plan to rule the world by feeding people pies and becoming too fat and lazy to stop him. The whole episode is a mini musical where everyone sings a song that are parodies off of Broadway musical numbers like Sound of Music. The style of the show is a twist on the usual style of storytelling. It's always been the good guy as the main character fighting the bad guy, but in this show, it's the other way around as the bad guy is the main character of the show. Not many shows have that idea, but it's interesting seeing the villain trying to win. It makes you want to see what he's gonna do next in every episode. The show had some fun moments with its humor and the strange mind of Maxwell Adams' characters and style. The art style has its common cartoon look, but it also uses a dash of colors, giving it texture and somewhat of a dark feel to it. Near the end of the series, the art style would become better with its different shades and more detail to the characters. This was actually the start of a season 2 for Evil Con Carne, but that didn't last very long, as Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy was getting more attention than Evil Con Carne after they went their separate ways. Basically, Grim was rolling in the money with all the riches and fame, while poor Hector was left out, forgotten, and abandoned. And so, after airing the series for a while, Evil Con Carne was cancelled on October 22nd, 2004, and was never seen again. But that wasn't the end of Evil Con Carne just yet. They would make a few cameos in the Grim Adventures series, mainly having a cameo in the Chicken Ball Z episode, and later General Scar would become a recurring character on the series. He lives next door to Billy's house after Hector's army went bankrupt, and has become more of a gardener. But he still has his evil side with him, as he has a flaming hatred to Billy, and still has those days where he could rule the world. After making some small cameos, they decided to make one more episode with the cast of Evil Con Carne, and featured in an episode of Grim Adventures titled Company Halt. In this episode, Evil Con Carne has been revived, and Hector rehires Scar to be his general again, as they plan to take over Ennsville, and later, the world. It's nice to see that after years of being forgotten, the gang is reunited again for one last time. Although I think it would be cool if they had an epic fight between Grim and Hector, and make some funny references on how they used to be together on Grim and Evil. It's a bit of a shame that they didn't get their own DVD release. Some of the episodes can be found on the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy Season 1 DVD. Finding the episodes on the internet can be a little bit tricky to find. I've been able to find all of them on weird websites like 220.ro and bbox7.com. The websites are in different languages, but at least all the episodes are in English. In closing, Evil Con Carne is an underrated show. It's been forgotten mainly because its relative, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, has been hogging all the glory and fame. It's another one of those shows that deserves more respect. Besides, it's not that often that you have a TV show where the villain is the main character of the series. But maybe not all hope is lost just yet, since Cartoon Network has brought back Cartoon Planet and started showing some of the good shows again. They even featured an episode of Evil Con Carne one time. If they can show more episodes from the series, maybe it'll get a second chance with its reruns, earning a new generation of fans. Well, that wraps up this episode of Forgotten Media. Tune in next time, we'll be taking a look at some canceled projects that featured the Three Stooges. So until then, this is Melting Man 234 signing out.